I'd like to talk about the news and your mental health. But before we do that, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Ghazala at the Heart and Soul Cafe. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're here for the first time, then you're very, very welcome. Now, the news and your mental health. I went to see a friend the other day, and I was just going to go over for a coffee and a chat. And so I walked in, and the news was on. So it was, I think it was a Sky channel, a news channel, and so it was. Was the volume really? The volume was high enough for us to hear what was going on, what was being said, and I think then she, because I walked in, she then turned the volume down slightly, but we could still hear what was going on. And that TV stayed on all through the duration of me being there, on the same channel, on the same headlines, going on again and again and again and again and again, just on a loop. Yeah. So there was news about obviously wars going on around the world, and there was a few cases of some murders that have gone on in London and in and around London, and also in other cities as well in England. Court cases, people being given that. So the news, if you think about the news, it's all bad news, isn't it? It's all bad news. It's all news that sells, that gets view times, that gets, we're talking about newspapers, it sells newspapers. And that's okay, because they've got a channel to run. They've got newspapers, papers to sell, and news sells papers, but bad news sells papers. I'm not saying for one second that we shouldn't be aware of what's going on in the world. We absolutely should. But to have a channel on that where you can hear it, and you might not be paying attention to it completely all the time, to be fair, but your subconscious is taking all that in. And if it's on a loop for hours and hours and hours, just think, what's going in here, what's going on in here. It's just constant, all that negativity, all the death and destruction. And what kind of effect is that going to have on your mental health? As I'm saying, I'm not saying for one second that you shouldn't be aware of it, you shouldn't be concerned about it. Of course we should. But there's something that we could be doing that's more positive. If we are affected by, wars that are going on, we can raise money, we can send money, we can do something positive for people that are in difficult times. But us just sitting there listening for hours and hours and hours on end about what's going on, and you've heard the headlines, but for you to go on and on and on listening is not going to have a positive effect on your mental health. Now, the reason why I was going over to see my friend in the first place was because she had shared that she was sort of struggling a bit mentally, feeling a bit low, feeling a bit, deflated. And so I was going to go over there and hopefully sort of cheer her up a little bit, not just cheer her up, but listen and then validate, hopefully, of what she's feeling. And then hopefully with that, she would feel better. And I was hoping that that's what I'd be able to do. So I ended up actually saying, and I said, how long have you been sort of watching this news channel? And she said, yeah, it's been on all day. And I said, well, do you think that's a good thing? Because that's all you're taking in. And it might be that sometimes, I know that when I'm at home on my own, I might put the TV on just for some background noise because I don't want it completely quiet. Yeah, it's just to break up that silence. And so I might have something going on. But I am quite mindful about what is still playing, because even if I'm not consciously listening to it, subconsciously I'm taking things in. And if it is news, bad news, death, destruction, murders, all that stuff that's going on in the world, if that's what's going to go in here, that's not going to help me mentally in any way at all. And I'm not saying let's turn a blind eye to it, let's not turn the TV on, let's not know what's going on. That's not what I'm saying. You need to know what's going on in the world, but we can do something positive about it rather than just sit there feeling worse in ourselves, where we're in a position then we can't do anything to help anybody else because our own mental health is affected by it. And if our own mental health is affected by it, then how are we going to help anyone else? It's that saying that I come up with, you can't pour out of an empty jug. Well, no, you can't, because if you're affected by something in a negative way, how can you then do anything positive? Yeah. So when it comes to the news, what I usually do is I'll turn the news on. I'll watch all the headlines. If there's something that really catches, really gets my interest, I will watch on to sort of see, to get some more of the story, or I might go onto my phone and, get up that story and sort of see what else is going on about it. But then I will turn it off or turn it over. I won't keep that channel on, because at the end of the day, what they're doing is they're going to repeat it over and over and over and over and over again, for hours. And what's the good of that for me? There isn't any. There's no use to it at all. No, it'll have no purposeful meaning at all for me. So the purpose of this video is really to make you think a little bit about how much news do you sort of expose yourself to, and do you expose yourself to the news late at night before you're going to try and go to sleep and try and unwind? Because a lot of the news is worrying, it causes distress, and if you're distressed, your cortisol levels are going to go up, your stress levels are going to go up, and if those have gone up, then it's really hard to unwind and sleep. So you need to be mindful about what time of the day you are watching the news, and how much of the news are you watching, and how much are you exposing yourself to it. And I had this conversation with my friend before I left, and I said, look, I think just be mindful about things like that. And if you were telling me that you're not sleeping too well, and obviously the heat is one thing, because we're going through this bit of a heat wave, and when we are too warm, it's hard to sleep. But then again, if you're exposing yourself to the news for hours and hours and hours on end, those images are going to come back into your mind, as you're trying to sort of unwind and go to sleep, and those images then are going to stop you from sleeping or having a meaningful, restful sleep anyway. So we need to be careful. We need to be careful about it. If you want to do something to help, then there's other things that we can do, but just sitting and watching it for hours and hours isn't going to help anyone, and it certainly is not going to help you. So just turn those news channels off as well. Make sure that you turn them off, and don't expose yourself to them too much, because it's just not going to do you any good at all. Okay, so I hope you found the content of this video helpful. Please do share, please do comment, please do like, and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you to those of you who have subscribed and do come back to watch the videos. Thank you. I can't even tell you in words how much it means to me, but we need many, many more. I'm not going to go away. I am going to try my very, very best to build this community where we can help each other, where we've got each other's back when it comes to mental health, grief, loss, bereavement, and we can sort of. And I'm really reaching out to that person who's very much on their own, very much isolated, and struggling on their own. It's very much geared towards you to reach out and be a part of this platform. It means so much to me, and make comment, and we can sort of get conversations going, and that would be wonderful. It means so much to me. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, look after your hearts and souls.